it's time to continue our trip down the cleric subclasses. Welcome to the Attic Dungeon. My name is Sam, and whether you want peace and order or lightning and thunder, I'm here to help you with everything. Clerics, the more the merrier. Luckily, they have about 1 million subclasses, so I can keep talking about them for months and months, and I'll get to the end eventually. Can't wait until I get to the wizard, which is even worse. So, today we're talking about Order, Peace, and Tempest clerics, the latter being one of my absolute favorite subclasses in the entire game. Slight bias might be possible there. But we start with a different subclass. We start with the Order subclass. So your gods represent order, the opposite of chaos. Rules and guidelines and what have you are your pet peeve. That doesn't mean you have to be a complete rule follower all the time, but you do value order above everything. Let's start by having a look at the spell list. Now I have to say, it's not bad, the spell list, but it is not, exquisite. The first level spells you get are Command and Heroism. Heroism a mess spell anyway. Command can be useful. Hold Person, second level spell is good though. Zone of Truth is excellent in social situations. You get Mass Healing Word, which you could pick up as a cleric anyway, but it's nice to have it in. It's like Mass Healing Word. It's a bonus action that heals plenty of people, so that's good stuff. You do get Slow, and that is not a cleric spell. Slow is the opposite of Haste. It's potentially a really good spell if enough enemies fail their saves. It can really slow down the turn of anyone affected by it. So even if only half the targets get hit by it, it's still going to have a pretty good effect. Compulsion Locate Creature, and then we got Commune and Dominate Person. Yes, because Order means brainwashing. That's why you get Command and Dominate Person, apparently. What else do you get at level 1? Well, good old-fashioned heavy armor. Order must be enforced, apparently, sometimes, so you need adequate protection to do so. You also gain proficiency in Intimidation or Persuasion, meaning this is actually a cleric who baseline has useful social skills that will scale with you thanks to how the proficiency system works in 5e. That's fun. At level 2, no, also at level 1, my bad, you gain Voice of Authority. This means that when you cast a spell that targets one of your allies, they can spend their reaction to make an attack to whatever's near them, near enough to them to smack the living bejeebus out of it, which is good stuff. This is maybe a bit stronger at lower levels where one attack is basically an entire turn, and at higher levels one attack is like 30% of a turn. But still, it's free attacks, let's not complain. If your spell would target multiple creatures, you have to select the one creature that will perform the extra attack. Still, let's never complain about free attacks, because this is only limited by the amount of spells you can cast that target people. Obviously, you don't want to be casting spells that target people the entire time, but it's nice to know that when you heal someone, you also get to smack something in return. It improves your action economy when it comes to healing, when it comes to enchanting, remarkably. This is, of course, better used on classes that don't really have a use for their reaction. Your channel divinity for the Order cleric is Order's Demand, which is very simply explained. As an action, you can choose any number of creatures within 30 feet, and if they fail a wisdom save, they will be charmed until the end of your next turn. Taking damage breaks the charm. You can command them to drop whatever they're holding as part of the charm. It's a nice mass crowd control effect on the channel divinity. Obviously, they're only charmed towards you. I'm not sure if that would keep them... Well, if you could shout something like stop attacking or whatever, this might grant you a minor reprieve for a full round, but the moment you start attacking one of them, they become hostile again. Still, it might also be useful outside of combat to calm down agitated situations before combat erupts. You see, you can probably avoid combat by casting this, taking a quick action in the moment that they're charmed, and then moving on with your life. It's not a bad channel divinity. Not the best, not the worst. It's crowd control. Get on with the show. Level 6 is Embodiment of the Law. you have become more adept at using enchantment spells. You've become so adept at it that you can cast enchantment spells with a bonus action instead of an action, and you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier a day. This means that in the same turn you could cast Hold Person and then still attack the target that you are holding. Obviously, you cannot cast another spell as your main action except for a cantrip, because that is how spellcasting works in 5th edition. So this is a decent feature. It allows you to cast larger spells, a lot of your crowd control spells, in a smaller slot, but the potence of your main action is limited because you cannot cast another spell. Now, smacking something, you get Divine Strikes later, is not a horrible option. It still nets you like half a turn extra at virtually no cost. It's something tied to your proficiency modifier times a day. It's a clutch ability. Use it though. It's not bad. You get Divine Strikes. You get Divine Strikes as an Order Cleric, which means that when you hit something with a weapon, you can infuse it with Divine Energy and whack something for 1d8 extra psychic damage, or when you reach level 14, whack him for 2d8 extra psychic damage. I've always found this to be a mixed ability on Clerics. I haven't seen Clerics who attack that often so many times. I mean, most Clerics prefer to cast spells because you have a billion spell slots. By level 8, you have quite a few spell slots, and your cantrip scale very well. Very well, they scale like any cantrip, obviously. So this is situational, which doesn't improve the fact that your level 17 ability, Order's Wrath, thrives on you just attacking. So just to frame this, I'll tell you about the ability first. Order's Wrath, your level 17 ability, says that when you deal damage with your Divine Strike ability, you can curse the target, which sounds fun. It doesn't get a save, doesn't get anything, it's just curse. So you've just hit an enemy and you've dealt, let's say, at least 3d8 plus 3 damage just now, because you've hit it with Divine Strikes, your weapon damage, and your ability modifier damage, which I'm going to assume is at least 16. Why the hell would you be whacking people with a mace otherwise? The next time one of your allies hits the target, they take an additional 2d8 psychic damage, which brings the total of your turn to 5d8, and you didn't spend any resources, which is not bad. But it's not that good because you're an Order Cleric. Your strength is probably never going to be 20. Your chances of hitting an enemy will never be the highest possible. At level 17, you have so many spell slots that I don't really know why you would consistently attack to make use of this feature. The curse also dissolves after one use, so you hit the target, you curse them, somebody else hits them, they take the extra damage, done. There's no extra effect. You can only curse a creature once that way per turn, so even if you get extra attack through haste, you cannot smack multiple creatures to deal out multiple instances of the curse. That is not possible. So this is, in my eyes, a lackluster ability. Dealing 5d8 damage without spending any resources isn't bad. It is better than your cantrips at this point. But the way spellcasters work, the chances are higher that your wisdom is maxed out than your strength. It's quite possible to bring a cleric up to, let's say, 18 straight 18 wisdom. Yes, sure. Is that worth it for this ability? I think that is to be disputed. I like the idea behind the ability. Your attacks enable your allies, but it would have helped if something extra was added to the ability. I think I would have preferred the ability to have limited uses, but be a lot stronger. A bit like a Paladin Smite. You hit something, you apply your effect, and you mark down a use of Order's Wrath. Here, I'm not convinced. That's the simple truth of it. This might be good. If you've used this ability to great success, tell me, please. But in my head, the math is lackluster, especially since there is no added effect. Some of your spells, even your level 1 spells, will deal less damage. Let's say Guiding Bolt, but at least you can you grant advantage to somebody else. This one does more damage, but doesn't do anything special. I suppose if you roll well, 40 damage without doing any effort is good, but you have so much more in your arsenal. How does the Order Cleric scale against the other Cleric subclasses? I think it's medium. Your capstone ability is not that good, but how often do you reach your capstone ability? The level 1 ability I think is really good if you are enchanting people, healing people, and you get to grant extra attacks. That is actually a pretty good feature, especially at low level, but even in the mid levels this is going to be good stuff. Casting enchantments as bonus action is like okay plus. It gives you extra turns, it gives you extra actions, but it's not superb. And your channel divinity is good when you use it in a smart way. So the Order Cleric is like, I don't know, a 6 out of 10 in my book. It's not going to be bad. It is going to add to the party because you still have the entire cleric plethora of spells, but it is not the best cleric class for sure. One of Order's best friends is of course peace. Where there is order, there might be peace, whether they like it or not, and whether the peace is nice and gentle or a bit forced. Nobody said that the dictatorship can't be peaceful. Obviously, you are here to spread love and joy and quiet meadows to chill in, you damn hippie. But what are your domain spells? Alas, you get heroism as well, which is medium good at level 1, and then it very quickly trails off. Sanctuary, sure, why not? So protect someone, but they can't do shit themselves. I do like the level 2 spells though, Aid and Warding Bond. 2 spells that I enjoy immensely because they are concentrationless buffs. You can cast Aid and still cast Shield of Fate on someone else. Even though it's only 5 hit points that you increase their total with, don't forget that Aid can also double as a sneaky healing spell. You can increase 3 creatures' max hit points by 5. At the base level, you can obviously upscale it. And you also heal them for that amount. So if 3 of your party are down, with a level 2 spell, you can get all of them up at 5 hit points. That's basically sneaking in mass healing word early. Warding Bond is still a good protection spell. You're a cleric, you have decent hit points. You can buff someone, increase their armor class, their saving throws. They only take half damage, but you take the other half of the damage that was not taken by the other person. So it's a spell with a risk, but again, concentrationless. Cast Warding Bond, cast Shield of Fate, and you've increased somebody's armor class by 3. A lot of less chance of them getting hit to begin with then. Third level spell, also pretty okay. There's Beacon of Hope in there, which, if nothing else, allows you to maximize healing. The level 3 spells are not that bad. It includes Beacon of Hope, which, if nothing else, allows you to maximize your healing output while the spell is active, which is cool stuff, to be honest, because one of the issues with healing is that, well, if the numbers are low, you usually have wasted a turn because the enemy will damage it anyway. With Beacon of Hope, you can kind of level that out. Sending is nice. Then you've got Aura of Purity to protect against certain bad, status effects. Wow, that could affect you. And then you get Autolux Resilient Sphere, also known at my table as the Hamster Ball, which is fun stuff. You encase someone in the hamster ball, nothing can hit them, they can hit nothing. It's a very fun spell that allows quite some creative uses to solve certain problems or to annoy certain enemies. And then at the end you get Raris Telepathic Bond, which is a fun spell, but really like utility. It's 9 creatures you get to link telepathically, except if they've got an intelligence of 2 or lower, which I think is really funny. You're too dumb, you don't get telepathic, so I'm sorry, it's not an option for you. You also get Greater Restoration though, so you can cure almost anything as a peace cleric, which sounds apt. You also get proficiency in, insight, persuasion, and performance, I think the other one is. So you are an actual hippie who can play mellow music to soothe the crowds. I love Peace Cleric's level 1 feature, Emboldening Bond. It is basically a better bless. What it allows you to do is indicate a number of creatures equal to your proficiency modifier, and they get the same effect as bless. So they add a d4 to attack roll, saving throws, the entire shebang. They do have to stay within 30 feet of each other for it to work. That is possibly the one downside. You can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier, and it doesn't require concentration. So once your proficiency modifier is like 3 or 4. You can use this a lot of times a day. You basically have a series of level 1 spell slots just for Emboldening Bond, a Concentrationless Bless that just requires you to stay close. I know that's easier said than done in some cases, but still, it's pretty good. And it stacks with normal Bless because this is a differently named effect. So you could cast Emboldening Bond, then Bless on top, and people have 2d4s to add to whatever they are doing. And that, because of how scaling works, as long as you keep your ability modifiers relevant, like high enough for your primary ability score, this is always going to be good for everyone. I don't say you have to cast double Bless all the time, because you will have better uses for your concentration than Bless, but this is going to stay relevant throughout your entire playthrough, and you will gain more uses and be able to affect more people as you grow. It really is one of my favorite level 1 cleric features. Your channel divinity is pretty unique and a decent heal, even if it doesn't scale that well. It's called Balm of Peace. As an action, you can move without provoking opportunity attacks, and any creature that you pass by within 5 feet, you can heal for 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier. 2d6 plus Wiz means it can max out at 17 hit points, which at higher levels is not that much. But the fact that you can heal, according to how I read the ability, any creature you pass by, not just the one, you got 30 feet movement speed, I suppose. If you can pass by 3 creatures, you can heal 3 times, and then this becomes more relevant. It is never going to be your best healing spell, but it doesn't use any major resources. It's your channel divinity, resets on a short rest, and again, this is a sneaky AoE heal, a nice way to pull some people up from the floor for more hit points than Aid will. Next up at level 6 we have Protective Bond. If any of the creatures that are sharing your Empowering Bond, your level 1 feature, get damaged, another creature can choose to teleport next to them and take all the damage. Whew. Together with Warding Bond, this allows you to split a lot of damage. This allows your tank certain ways to protect other people. If something like a barbarian who has an enormous hit pool and maybe it takes half damage from whatever is hitting the target, they can then teleport to whatever is being attacked and take all of the damage and half it because of rage, probably. This is pretty good. Again, it requires you to stay within 30 feet. I don't think Peace Clerics work that well with stuff like monks who like to dart all over the place, but they will work well with people who like to stick close to each other. Rogues who want sneak attack from attacking people that are being flanked and stuff like that. So that is pretty okay. I quite like the feature because it doesn't require you to do anything extra. It's tied to a feature that is already good and just makes it better. You get potent spellcasting as a Peace Cleric, so your cantrips add your wisdom modifier, whip-de-doo. And your level 17 feature is called Expansive Bond. You hear the word bond again, so that means it is going to improve your Emboldening Bond again, which I quite like. You gain a feature at level 1, and this entire subclass just makes it really good. If you reach level 17, the range of Emboldening Bond increases. Now you have to be within 60 feet of each other instead of 30 feet, and that's cool. And when somebody uses their reaction to perform the level 6 ability, teleport, take the damage, they gain resistance to that damage. So now anyone can basically use their reaction to teleport to an ally, absorb the damage, and only take half. This is a really cool way of protecting each other if you use your reactions in a clever way, and if you're playing classes that don't really need their reactions for other things. I like the entire package that the Peace Cleric offers. Even though it's called the Peace Cleric, it's not a non-violent class like the Redemption Paladin is, kind of. It just really focuses on creating a bond amongst allies, strengthening it, taking care of each other, taking damage for each other, helping each other out. It's a very cool theme, and they make the ability work. Emboldening Bond is strong and becomes stronger as you go. It's also not a needlessly complicated ability. You'll see that our next guy, for example, the Tempest Cleric, gains, like, everything he gains is a different ability, so you have to kind of keep track of which one am I using. But this one is just, oh, your Emboldening Bond becomes better and better and better and better. It's actually an accessible class for new players because they have one extra buff that they have to track, as opposed to a bajillion different subclass features. It's a really good subclass. It allows them to support the group, which is what kind of people expect from a cleric, while still being able to keep her spell slots open for other things. I rate this higher than the Order Cleric. I think this is like a solid 8 in my book. I don't know why now I start to give out numbers, that's just what I want to do today. But this is like a really good subclass, in my humble opinion. And last but not least for today, we have Thunderbolts and Lightning, very, very frightening, the Tempest Cleric, one of the OG subclasses from the player's handbook, and still a very strong one, and still one of my favorite subclasses in the entire game. But that is because I have a fondness for classes that center around lightning, and this one is good at it. There's a few other ones, the Sorcerer has one, I think, no, Barbarians have something with storms, but not really lightning, but this is the only one that is super competent at what it does. We start out at level 1, your domain spells provide you with the thunder and lightning that you need. Because if you go through the cleric spell list, you'll notice that there's very little thunder and lightning in there, which is tricky when your entire subclass set revolves around it. So you get stuff like Thunder Wave and Fog Cloud, you get Shatter, Gust of Wind, Call Lightning, really fun spell for this one, Sleet Storm, Control Water, Ice Storm, you get the idea. You don't get exclusively Thunder and Lightning spell because the amount of those is limited in the game, to be honest. There's not that much when you compare it to fire damage, for example. Oh yeah, you also get Destructive Wave and Insect Plague. Bit weird, that last one, they just want to give you more blow-up spells. And that is what this subclass is all about. The previous two were about enabling your allies and protecting your allies. This one is all about blowing up your enemies. So you get spells that do just that. Fun stuff. I think this is the only subclass that we're talking about today that has little to no cleric spells on the list, because they want you to deal damage with an element that is not native to the cleric. They have to give you the spells to do so. If you want to play Thor, ladies and gentlemen, this is the class you want to play. Yes, Thor is a cleric, deal with it. You also get heavy armor proficiency and martial weapons. You're one of those super frontliney clerics. Does that mean you want to attack all the time? No, because you've got awesome spells. But still, you know, just like the Order Cleric, the option will be there, but it's less centered around it. Your level 1 ability is Wrath of the Storm, which gives you more ways of dealing thunder and lightning damage as a reaction. If you get hit by an enemy, as a reaction, you can have them roll a dex save. If they fail the save, they take 2d8 of thunder or lightning damage. You can pick for the rare case where an enemy is only resistant or vulnerable to one of those. Those two usually come as a package. And you can use this a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. It's an OG class, that means tying stuff to proficiency bonuses was not yet a thing, so this just encourages you to buff your wisdom more. Just like many other things that don't really scale, the damage here is not superb. At higher levels, obviously only 2d8, but there will be another effect that kind of piggybacks off this damage, and it's a reaction, and as a cleric, except if you've got Warcaster, you don't really have a lot of use for your reaction anyway, so feel free to zap people. Then we come to the Channel Divinity, Destructive Wrath, the creme de la creme of cleric channel divinities. Yes, I'm horribly biased. No, it doesn't provide utility, but holy schmoly does it provide damage. Basically, whenever you cast a spell that deals thunder or lightning, you could, after you see or hear rather the saving throws, so you know how many creatures you're going to hit, you could push the magic button that says blow them all up, because that's what Destructive Wrath does. It maximizes your spell's damage. Shatter 3d8 at level 3, sure, do the 24 damage. Oh, only one creature saved? Yes, I will do the 24 damage and blow them all to pieces. Obviously, this is limited somewhat by the fact that you don't gain any more lightning damage beyond Call Lightning, I think. So it is more potent at lower level, though you can upscale stuff. And whereas upscaling usually is not worth the additional benefit, if you know that you can deal maximum damage, it might just be worth doing that. I've always wanted to upscale Shatter to 9th level and then just cry Destructive Wrath and see what that brings me. Is it going to be the best thing you can do? No. Is it going to be fun? Yes, and that's what the game is all about. I think it really helps. It makes me feel like I'm channeling storms, channeling the destructive wrath of thunder and lightning damage. So that's good. Fun. Oh, technically speaking, this is not just when casting spells. So if anything you hold or have deals thunder or lightning damage, there's like, I forgot the name, but there's a purple item, a Staff of Thunder, I think it is, can cast like lightning bolt and stuff as well. It's not really the spell that you cast, but you can project lightning bolts with it. You can also amplify that damage. You could technically amplify the damage of your level 1 ability, though that is not really useful because it's only 2d8, but you get the idea. It's not just weapon damage, it's not spell damage that you deal, it is all the thunder and lightning damage. Whenever you get to roll thunder or lightning damage, you can just take max value, which is nice. Level 6 Thunderbolt Strike. When you deal damage to a larger or smaller creature, and it is lightning damage, it has to be lightning damage, you get to move it 10 feet away from you. Which is weird because you'd say, oh, thunder is usually the one that blows people away. Hey, in it, thunder wave. But maybe that's why they don't piggyback it on thunder damage. Because thunder already has pushing effects a lot of the time and they don't want to give you too much push. A bit sad, but oh well, now lightning is super useful. This also means that your level 1 feature, where you can bounce lightning damage onto someone, thunder or, as you can pick, can now bounce enemies back. So if you're getting swarmed a bit and you need to create a bit of space, and you know you're next up in the initiative order or close to, you can use your level 1 feature to bounce your attacker back, leaving you freer to move on your turn. Or you could do it in a chokehold and create space for another enemy to come and hit you in the face. So it might not be the best feature, but it's a tactical feature and it's a free feature. All you need to do is deal lightning damage, which is fun because your next feature is Divine Strikes, which obviously allows you to deal thunder or lightning damage when you hit something with your weapon. Yay. So now you can smack something and push it away. Is this super? No. Are you going to smack people all the time with Divine Strike? No. But, you know, you got it. If something is in your face and, for example, you rely on Sacred Flame and you have seen that they have a very high dexterity but very low armor class, this is a good equivalent to just smack them. And then the last thing, Stormborn. It's plain and simple. It's not the best, but it's super flavorful. As long as you're not underground or indoors, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. So yeah, you fly, period, that's it. Concentrationless flight as long as you're outdoors. This is situational, of course. If your entire campaign takes place in the Underdark, you will not get to use this. If your entire campaign takes place or you travel a lot and what have you, this is super useful in outdoor encounters. It is concentrationless flight. I get why they limited flavor-wise, but I think it's a bit sad that you can't fly indoors, obviously. But you have to feel the wind. You have to, you have to be able to conjure up some wind to get you into the air, I suppose. So yeah, that is the Tempest Cleric. This is a very decent damage dealing package with some knockback. This is the Evocation Wizard of the Cleric class. This is at least an 8 out of 10, if not a bit more. I won't say it's perfect, I'm not that biased. I've clearly indicated where the holes are in the kit, but this will do well in any situation, except if everything is immune to lightning and thunder damage. There we go, that's all that I wanted to talk about. Let me know in the comments down below whether you have played these subclasses, how they fared for you, whether you have discovered any sneaky tips or tricks with them. And if all goes well, my dear people, I'll see you all again in 2 weeks in the Attic Dungeon.